All right, let's talk about one of the most frustrating things about using AI today. It's terrible memory. You ever wonder why a chatbot can't seem to remember you from one day to the next? Well, the answer isn't some kind of magic. It's actually a really clever bit of engineering that turns a simple tool into a real assistant.
You know the feeling, right? You have this incredible, long conversation with an AI. It finally gets what you're working on, it understands your style, it knows exactly what you need. You come back the next day all excited to pick up where you left off, and nothing. It's like you're talking to a complete stranger. It has total amnesia. So what's going on here?
Well, the core reason is actually pretty straightforward. Large language models, or LLMs, are what we call stateless. See, outside of all that data they were trained on, they only know what you tell them in the immediate moment, what's inside a single context window. And as soon as that conversation ends, poof, that window closes and your entire chat is just gone from its memory.
So how do we fix this? Well, that's where a field called context engineering comes in. You can think of it as the art of perfectly preparing all the right ingredients and feeding them to the AI every single time you talk to it so that it always has the full picture.
I love this analogy. It's like a chef's mise en place. A great chef doesn't just start cooking blindly. No, they first gather, chop, and organize every single ingredient they'll need. That's exactly what context engineering does for an AI. It gets everything ready so the AI can cook up the perfect response.
So what are these ingredients? Well, it's a whole mix of things. You've got the AI's persona, its system instructions. You've got the tools it can use, like APIs. There's its long-term memory, what it's learned about you over time, plus external facts it can look up, the history of your current chat, and of course, the actual question you just asked. Context engineering is the master chef that brings it all together.
Okay, so to make all this work, we really need to understand two key ideas. Let's start with the first one, sessions. A session is basically the AI's workbench. It's the temporary space that holds everything for the single continuous conversation you're having right now.
To really get the difference here, think about it like this. A session is your workbench when you're in the middle of a project. It's going to be messy, right? It's covered in notes, tools, sketches, everything you need for the task at hand. But when you're done, you don't save the entire cluttered workbench. Of course not. You clean it up and you file away the really important documents. That clean, organized filing cabinet, now that's memory.
But here's the catch, with only using a workbench. As your conversation goes on and on, that context window gets super crowded. And that's a problem. It leads to higher costs, much slower responses, and this thing called context rot, where the AI literally gets confused and loses track of what's important in all that noise.
And that's where our filing cabinet comes in. We're talking about memory. This is the system that creates that long-term persistence, the thing that takes an AI from just a simple tool to a genuine assistant that actually finally knows who you are. Okay, so right about now you might be thinking, hang on, isn't this just a fancy database? Or, isn't this the same as retrieval augmented generation RAG, where an AI just looks up facts? It's a fantastic question, but nope, they're actually built for very different jobs. Let's try another analogy. Think of RAG as a research librarian. It gives the AI access to a huge public library of facts, making it an expert on the world. But memory is more like a personal assistant. It carries a little private notebook that's all about you, your projects, your preferences, your goals. RAG is an expert on the world. Memory is an expert on you.
And this chart really breaks it down for us. You can see RAG pulls from static, public documents to inject facts. Memory, on the other hand, is built from your own dynamic conversations and is completely private to you. The takeaway is really that simple. RAG makes an agent an expert on facts. Memory makes it an expert on you.
So how does this memory actually get made? Because it's not just about dumping data into a bucket. It's an active, intelligent pipeline, often powered by another LLM, funny enough, that takes the messy chaos of a conversation and turns it into clean, structured, and genuinely useful knowledge. It usually breaks down into 4 key stages. First, the raw chat history gets ingested. Then, an LLM sifts through all that noise to extract the important stuff. Facts, goals, preferences. The third step is where the real magic happens. It consolidates the new info with old memories, merging duplicates, fixing conflicts. And finally, that curated, polished memory gets stored away for next time.
And that third step, consolidation, is just so cool. I love this description of it being like a diligent gardener. The system isn't just throwing new info on a pile, it's actively tending to the knowledge base. It's pulling out the weeds of duplicate data, pruning memories to make them better, and carefully planting new insights. It's an intelligent, self-healing process.
And here's a super important detail for making this work in a real product. This whole memory-making pipeline has to run in the background. It happens asynchronously. You can't make the user sit there and wait while the AI gardens its memories. The AI gives its answer instantly, and all this cleanup and filing happens behind the scenes, keeping the whole experience snappy and smooth.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. Why does any of this sessions, memory, context engineering, why does it all matter so much? Because this is the stuff that lets us build a true AI assistant. This really gives us the whole picture. You've got the LLM, that's the brain. You've got the session, which is the now, that messy workbench for the current task. You've got memory, which is the past, that organized filing cabinet of everything important. And then you have context engineering, the orchestrator that's expertly pulling from all of it to create the perfect response.
And that's the bottom line, really. This sophisticated dance between the temporary workbench of a session and the permanent filing cabinet of memory, that is the engineering that lifts an AI from being a simple, forgetful tool into a true, personalized assistant that actually feels like it knows you.
And all this leaves us with a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending question for the future. As we get better and better at building AIs with perfect memories, the whole challenge flips. It's not just about what an AI should remember anymore. The next great design problem is figuring out what it should be programmed to forget. Thanks for joining me.